Wilson, the first Southern Democrat to win a presidential election since 1848, directed his lofty sentiments towards Europeans, but African Americans could ground them in domestic soil and in their own battles for citizenship. In 1915, W.E.B. Du Bois urged African Americans to close ranks, the title of his famous editorial published in 1915. And could I ask for a volunteer to read this editorial from Du Bois so that we can get a sense of what his argument was going into the war?
We of the colored race have no ordinary interest in the outcome. That which the German power represents today spells death to the aspiration of Negroes and all darker races of equality, for equality, freedom, and democracy. Let us not hesitate. Let us, while this war lasts, forget our special grievances and close our ranks shoulder to shoulder without our own white fellow citizens and the allied nations that are fighting for democracy. We make no ordinary sacrifice, but we make it gladly and willingly without eyes lifted to the hills.
Okay, and I'm sorry, this should actually be closed ranks with our own white fellow citizens. So what is Du Bois arguing here? What is he saying about what African Americans should do?
Well, he's saying that the problems that we have, we should put them aside and join shoulders with the whites and all Americans to help fight this war. And I'm looking with Du Bois, I'm knowing that he was also knowing that being able to go out and fight, to go out and serve in this war would also give African Americans grounds to come back home and say, you know, to show the hypocrisy. You know, if you're sending me to Germany, you're sending me to Europe to free some folks, and then I'm coming home to a place where I'm not free, would inevitably show the hypocrisy of America. And you know, the African Americans going to war. Not only that, to say that I'm a man like you are a man, and to show that, you know, I can do the things that you can do. And with this would be something that they could take home and use as a sort of weapon to help fight for independence for African Americans.
Exactly, exactly. And we're going to see how his position changes after the war. Mm-hmm. But yes, thank you. That summarizes that perfectly. So World War I brought almost 400,000 African Americans into the military and sent 200,000 of those men to Europe as part of the American Expeditionary Forces. And here we see an image of the 369th Infantry, also known as the Harlem Hellfighters, who were the first all-black regiment to serve in World War I. The Great War gave many black people their first taste of life outside of the confines of the American racial system. France, in particular, came to represent emotionally and figuratively all that the United States denied African Americans. African Americans held fast to the belief that France was somewhat of a racial utopia whose population knew no color line. Still, black soldiers often found themselves commanded by white officers who were intent on carrying Jim Crow to Europe. Before black men left for European theaters of war, they faced humiliating conditions in stateside training camps. Black soldiers described camps near Newport News, Virginia, as little hells set up to torment colored men who would be something if they were allowed to rise. Non-combatants often had no barracks, few tents, fewer outhouses, and nowhere to bathe. Wartime violence escalated into a riot in Houston, Texas in in 1917, in which African American soldiers of the 24th Infantry retaliated against the widespread abuses that black soldiers and black women had suffered at the hands of Houston's white police force. When it was all over, 13 black soldiers were hanged. It was clear to black soldiers that they had returned from one war only to fight another. But much to the horror of white Southerners, African American soldiers proved more than willing to fight for democracy at home. So now let's take a look at Du Bois's commentary at the end of the war, an editorial called Returning Soldiers, which was written in 1919. And can I maybe ask for 3 volunteers to read this? There's 3 slides, so maybe if I could have 3 volunteers who might be willing to read.
I'll read
Okay,
first
1,
one.
and then 2, 3. Okay, great.
Yeah, yeah.
Tens of thousands of black men were drafted into a great struggle for bleeding France, and against the threat of German race arrogance, we fought gladly into the last drop of blood. For America and her highest ideals, we fought in far-off hope. For the dominant Southern oligarchy entrenched in Washington, we fought in bitter resignation.
For the America that represents and gloats in lynching, disenfranchisement, caste, brutality, and devilish insult. For this, we were forced by vindictive fate to fight also.
But today we return. We return from the slavery of uniform which the world's madness demanded us to don, to the freedom of civil guard. We stand again to look America squarely in the face and call a spade a spade. We sing, this country of ours, despite all its better souls have done and dreamed, is yet a shameful land.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to, you can read this. Thank you, yeah.
And lynching is barbarism of a degree of contemptible nastiness unparalleled in human history. Yet for 50 years we have lynched 2 Negroes a week, and we have kept up right through the war.
It disfranchises its own citizens. Disfranchisement is the deliberate theft and robbery of the only protection of poor against rich and black against white. The land that disfranchises its citizens and calls itself a democracy lies and knows it lies.
It encourages ignorance. It has never really tried to educate the Negro. A dominant minority does not want Negroes educated. It wants servants, dogs, whores, and monkeys. It steals from us. It organizes industry to cheat us. It cheats us out of our land. It cheats us out of our labor. It confiscates our savings. It reduces our wages. It raises our rent. It steals our profit. It taxes us without representation. It keeps us consistently and universally poor, and then feeds us on charity and derides our poverty.
Okay, and then just one more slide for you 3, and then you're done.
It insults us. It has organized a nationwide and a worldwide propaganda of deliberate and continuous insult and defamation of black blood wherever found. It decrees that it shall not be possible in travel nor residence, work nor play, education nor instruction for a black man to exist without tacit or open acknowledgement of his inferiority to the dirtiest white dog. And it looks upon any attempt to question or even discuss this dogma as arrogance, unwarranted assumption, and treason.
This is the country to which we soldiers of democracy return. This is the fatherland for which we fought. But it is our fatherland. It was right for us to fight. The faults of our country are our faults. Under similar circumstances, we would fight again.
But by the God of heaven, we are cowards and jackasses if now that the war is over, we do not marshal every ounce of our brain and brawn to fight a sterner, longer, more unbending battle against the forces of hell in our own land. We return from fighting, we return fighting.
Thank you very much. So how might you teach, how might you take the 1915 closed ranks editorial of Du Bois and then take the 1919 returning soldiers and teach that to your students? How might you juxtapose those two documents?
Well, for one, you know, the encouragement to go to war was an optimistic look for blacks to develop a foundation in which they could, in the long term, emerge into some type of citizenship, first-class citizenship with a hope. But then this one, he seems very disgusted, outraged, because what, you know, you were there in those trenches. And I know in World War I, African Americans did not actually get to fight a whole lot. But when you go on to World War II and other things, they were fighting shoulder to shoulder there in those trenches. You know, some of them, many of them got out because of the cooperation that they had with one another.